rocket, but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, see? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back. I was wondering how I can't even breathe. It's happening to me every show now. I can't. I was wondering if people were like in a better mind frame to process the Chris Ash hire and all this stuff. And you guys are hilarious. It's the creativity here is great. All of the flexibility having the last name Ash provides is hilarious. It's like we're either turning the other offenses to ash or Notre Dame's program's burning to ash. Either way, you got a headline. It's just so funny to me, some of the creativity you guys come up with amid uncertainty and frustration. It's quite entertaining. So welcome in, welcome back, everybody. We already got a handful of phone calls. Once the season's over and the big rush calms down, it's hit or miss on these morning shows with the call-in line. Sometimes they're full, sometimes they're not. Sometimes I think it takes people a while to wake up, and the second hour it fills up, whatever it is. So we got a bunch of phone calls here. I want to hear what people think about a lot of different things. So let's do the introduction. I highlighted a couple chats, and I'm going to quickly, I promise it won't be a half hour. We will quickly go over to the calls so that you guys can fill me in on where you're at with all this stuff. But I'm finding it at a minimum very entertaining, and we'll get into it. I'm not sure what to think. I'm not sure what to think about this Ash thing. And the more I think about it, the more some of it makes sense and the more some of it doesn't make sense. So let's get into this. As always, thanks for being here. You can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. Notifications on. That way you don't miss nothing. Twitter. Search bar Always Irish. Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you want it, you could get it. If you don't want to see my face, go over to audio only. You could get away from that. How do you think I feel? Call in lines. 312-988-15. You dialed up. Tell Uncle Yanni Boy all you've heard and seen. Notre Dame Fighting Irish brought to you by SI. Read all about it. I got something for you every day. You don't want to hear me? You don't want to see me? You could read me, but you can't get away. Patreon.com/Always Irish. He the former captain. He the leading tackler. It's Mike Goolsby, myself, and a head coach, Jared Clark, state champion down in Florida. Man, Jared's got some real talent in his program. And big time, I mean, the SEC is coming for his guys. Jared Clark is meeting with all these SEC coaches. It is an amazing thing. I love hearing the stories. Thanks to everybody who's over on Patreon checking it out. All right. A few things on the lineup for today I'm going to throw out there. Good morning to everybody. Good to see all the regulars. Always good to have Rudiger. Eric, I see you over at Ohio. All the regulars are here. Man, I love this group. You guys are here every day, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, couple things I want to throw in the ether to discuss, and then you guys can bring it wherever you want to bring it. I want to know more of your reactions from the Ash hire. I see conflicting reports on this everywhere I look. A lot of the Notre Dame media people don't like it at all. I'm seeing a lot of national people that do like it. And it's interesting to me to see the divide. But I found that a lot of national people think more of this guy than what our group of media seems to think. I don't know what you make. Well, it's the big show. What's up, Kent? So I honestly don't know what to make of it. I honestly don't know what to make of it. when you have a spotty resume with some high points and some low points. And then you got the media. Some people like it and some people don't like it. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what to make of it. So is it a home run ire? No doubt, whatever. No, it isn't. But is it a guarantee it's going to crash out and be horrible? No. So I don't know where that leaves you. So I want your reactions to Ash. This GM thing, I'm telling you, it sounds like Blanchard would be a home run. I opposite of Ash, I have not seen one negative thing said or written about James Blanchard from anybody at all. Google it, research it, YouTube it, Twitter it. I have not found one person that had anything negative to say about James Blanchard. He is like at the top of the list of people doing this, rising up the business. He has a lot of national credibility and cachet in this specific part of the business, this modern part of college football. He's got a lot of credibility. And so I want to know what you guys think about that. I don't think anything's been official or whatever. But that one would be a home run. You also have a new offensive line commit. Rivals top 100. Tyler Merrill commits 6'5", over 300 pounds. Bama, Clemson, Penn State among the offers there. You got that guy committed. I want to know what you guys think about that. And I just, I like Notre Dame recruiting these linemen that come in well over 300 pounds, as long as you carry it right. You can't be a bag. But as long as those guys come in over 300 pounds, not like 270, 280, 6'5", we need to fill out their frame, and it's going to take 2.5 years to get them over 300 where we want them to get on the field. That tells me something when you're starting to land these guys that are coming in 300 plus and carry it well. Those should be guys that, if they do the right things, are more ready to play earlier. And I like it. But I used to lose my mind when you got an O-line commit that's 6'5", but he's 280 pounds. That's not no, that's not what I'm looking for. I need them guys over 300, get them in there and then train them up and they're ready to go. But the size isn't an issue. And then one other thing I wanted to mention. This is very interesting. Did you guys see the note that the ACC was redoing their TV contract with ESPN for like 9 years or something? They're trying to redo it to breathe life back in the ACC or whatever. Okay. And the story is that they're redoing their contract with Notre Dame, and it's going to have Notre Dame playing two of Miami, Florida State, or Clemson every year, play two of them in a rotation. And I think everybody's kind of sick of Notre Dame playing these boring ACC teams that don't move the needle for anybody. And it's better for their ratings to have Miami against Notre Dame, Florida State against Notre Dame, Clemson against Notre Dame. So you're trying to get away from the boring part of the ACC schedules or whatever. And I'm sure a part of this is, they're sick of Notre Dame being able to breeze right through on some of the years where you don't have the good teams on there or whatever. I don't know. So I just think that's kind of interesting. So a 2-team rotation per year of Notre Dame, Miami, Florida State, and Clemson, and then rotate one out. Sid Irish says, unless we're playing Miami, Florida State, or Clemson, I don't care. That's the idea of this. That's the whole idea of this. And a lot of the Notre Dame people I've seen on Twitter like it because it's like, we're sick of this boring part of the schedule too. Like, let's go. I'm sorry, you guys. The back half of this next schedule, BC, Yawn Fest, Pitt, Yawn Fest, Syracuse. Tell me they're going to be great all you want. Yawn Fest. Stanford now in the ACC, double Yawn Fest. Double Yawn Fest. So I understand them trying to do this. And I do understand Miami's on the schedule, obviously, this year too. But I just think that's interesting. And I'm not seeing any Notre Dame people say, oh man, they're trying to nail Notre Dame with a tougher schedule or whatever. I'm not seeing any of that. I'm seeing Notre Dame fans being like, give me the better teams and the brand names in the ACC. We're sick of playing these boring teams. The only intriguing part about playing Pitt is seeing Narduzzi blow his stat over something mundane. Like there's just no pull to that ACC, man. There's no pull at all. So those are some of the things I have on my radar. Let me do a couple of the chats and then let's see what we got. Yeah, we got a decent amount of calls. So let me do the chats I highlighted and then I'll go right over to the callers. One more thing I wanted to mention before I get into this. I promise, just one more. There are multiple loyal people to this show and to Notre Dame media, Notre Dame, this niche, that are just taking a little break. Some of them are already back. Some of them are taking a break. Some of them pop in and out, but they're not here as regularly as we're used to. I could think of a handful of these people from my show alone. I've spoken to all of them. They're all okay. Nothing's happened to them. A few people reached out. Everybody's okay. There are just some people that are taking a little break from the negativity, from the stress, from whatever. They're taking a little break for their mental sanity, and they're going to be back. They're going to be back. So everybody's okay. Nobody's got ran over by a car, nothing. Everybody's going to be around. And I don't know that against anyone who needs a little break, man. Take the break now after the longest season in Notre Dame history, literally. And then pretty soon in a few weeks, we're going to be talking about spring ball, and it's going to get really, really interesting. And we're going to get into that, and everybody will be back in the fold. Okay, couple chats, and then we're going to give it to the callers. Mikey Pulls. Good morning, John. Or good morning, John. Will ND rise from the ashes, or will we burn to ash? The headlines write themselves. Notre Dame's either going to incinerate the opponent to ashes, or our program's going to crumble in ashes. It's going to be one or the other. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. Nikki Dean loves to be heard and seen. Hey, Johnny, what about the recruiting person following Bowden to SC? Doesn't surprise me because those guys have a working history. Are we talking about the one from in our program already, or isn't it Dre Brown that left and went to Illinois? Now he's going. I think he's going there from Illinois after he left Notre Dame. And then the other guy that was still in the programs following Chad, fine. Whatever, man. Like, whatever. That's their guy. They have a relationship, a working relationship, and a dynamic. He could go there. And if you get Blanchard, he's going to want to do some of his own stuff. I hope it's Blanchard at this point. I've read so many positive reviews about the guy. I'm going to be disappointed if it isn't him. So figure out a way to get it done. He's very well thought of in the business. Commander, as we set off into the offseason, it appears the same old recruiting story of trying to win a title in the 15 to 20 range with the incoming class. Not good enough at all. And Blanchard would be a big part of changing this. Getting a new recruiting blood in the building would be a part of changing all this. You got to get in the top 10. That's my line. You got to get every class, to me, needs to be in the top 10. 6, 7, 8, whatever. In the top 10 needs to be the goal. I don't think Notre Dame has nearly reached their recruiting potential under Marcus Freeman. Maybe if you get a new GM in here and some new ways to do things, you can up the ante there and find a little different way to maybe whatever. There's room for improvement there. And what about the development? And we got 3 stars that play like 5 stars for the 80th time. That kind of identification of traits and seeing some things in a 3-star guy you like, you get them and then they develop quick and they play better than that. I love all that. That needs to be what you do with the bottom third of the class, not the whole class. That needs to be the bottom third of that class. You take some flyers, you identify traits in a 3-star, and you think you see something nobody else does or what the recruiting experts don't. I love that evaluative piece of this that Notre Dame's doing a good job of. You just can't rely on it too much. It's not one or the other. You can land highly regarded guys that can flip and play for you in year 1 and 2 on the top end, and at the bottom end, rely on those traits and that identification of underrated prospects. It's not one or the other. It's both. It's both. It needs to be both. You need to start landing the top third of that class where it's like there's not much risk. They're going to be good players. They're physically ready to play young. That needs to be the top third. And whatever, the bottom third is that evaluative group. It's not one or the other. You could do both. But it bothers me when people are like, but look at the 3-star. Look at Leonard Moore, a 3-star, and then he plays great. Yeah, I know. That's great. What about the other 24 guys in a recruiting class? You need low-risk guys that could go ball out for you early and young to buoy the top part of the class. Get in the top 10. There's no reason under the energy of Marcus Freeman this should not be a top 10 recruiting operation every season. C. Jones. I don't know anything about Ash, so I have to trust Freeman made a good hire here. I told you where I'm at. I have no problem admitting I don't know how this is going to go. I see some positives on the resume. I see some red flags on the resume. I don't know. I would like to know, no one will know this probably. Ask Freeman, what made Ash a top target? That is a main question I have. Not on the radar, not a big college name being bantied about. I would like to know what made Notre Dame target that guy. And the answer can't be, well, he shares an agent with Marcus Freeman. That is the ultimate red flag of red flaggiest things. I don't want to be offensive to Marcus by assuming that's a part of it. But this is a guy that was not on people's radar or whatever, not like everybody's bidding for his services. I would love to know in a vacuum, in a private room, what drew Notre Dame and Freeman to this guy. And it can't just be the agent being like, well, you know, I represent this guy, whatever. I would love to know. Mark, I'm still formulating my opinion on Ash. I've been reading his Wikipedia for 3 days straight, trying to make it make sense. There's a lot going on there, man. There's a lot going on with the comings and the goings and the results different places and kind of the ascension up the sport and then a reversal back down the mountain, and then kind of rising back up here. I don't know, man. Hopefully Ash proves us wrong, but he's an underwhelming hire. I don't know how it's going to go. I see a lot of good and a lot of bad. Ash had absolutely nothing going for himself. Jeez. When you Google Chris Ash, a lot of the first picks, he even looks like a loser. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty sure Goolsby said something about that on the Monday night Patreon Live. I'm pretty sure he said something about the difference when you look at Al Golden and the respect he naturally commands in a room when you look at him compared to this guy. I'm not kidding. Goolsby brought it up too. Oh, that's funny. You guys are brutal. This is like some bum who lives with his mom scoring a super hot Victoria's Secret model. Look at Look at Ryan. I was still hoping Troy was going to offer him more money. That's hilarious how I was thanking Troy and then saying, I don't know who you are, Troy, but thanks for taking that problem off our hands. Oh, you guys are funny. Oh, you guys are good. Rodney, $2 holler. No rest for the weary. Ash versus Evil Dead. Pat, as far as unless this has changed in the last couple minutes and somebody would have texted me about it, the understanding is that Mickens is going to stay along for a raise and maybe the co-DC thing. And then I was told he's going to be the next DC whenever Ash burns away or whatever, the ashes blow away or whatever, would dissolve. I don't know. And so that's my understanding. And it's a question I have for you fine people is, do you feel any better about this knowing Mickens is staying in the building? Unless I'm wrong and the news change. With Mickens staying in the building, you still get that recruiting and the development and the identification of all these traits, the lower rated guys, all the stuff that Mickens has done to help turn that secondary from a negative program negative for 30 years of my life into a positive. And then I was told the known idea is he's going to be the next DC whenever the Ash part's over. if he's already in the building, it makes all of that a lot easier to coordinate. And the other ththing is, if it goes really bad with Ash, you can make that move and you have a guy in the building, he changes offices and moves right down the hallway. So it makes me feel a lot. This Ash uncertainty would be a lot more extreme and a lot more concerning if you lost Mickens, to me, because then it's like a huge swing and a miss. I look at Mickens staying in the building as like an ultimate safety blanket. And you got that next guy in the building and all that stuff. So I don't know. $2 holler, he's back. It's Caden the man. And if you don't think so, he'll let you know it. How's it going? I was in a car accident yesterday. Thank you for the $2 holler, and I genuinely hope you were okay. I'm assuming you're not in that bad a shape or you wouldn't be messaging me. But, man, I don't wish that on anybody, so I hope you're okay, buddy. $5 holler from the dong. I live in Florida, going to Miami. Hope to see you all there. Don't worry. I won't have listen, 17 was an ugly, ugly scene at that Miami game. My brother was down there. There were fights everywhere. It was not the safest environment. Maybe that was a unique blend of Miami-ness at that time or whatever. Maybe we've all matured. It was not a safe situation at that last game in 17. And I don't mean to sound like weak or something. I'm just telling you, there were fights everywhere, like real fist fights. So I don't know. So it's just kind of rough there. $2 holler from the man again. Notre Dame's schedule is weak as crap. Obviously, the car accident didn't hit your brain and affect it in a positive way. $2 holler from the dong. Ash looks like the guy who plays Shaggy. Oh, this is funny. Jerry Reinsdorf's burner. Are you going to come to a White Sox game? Nope. I haven't been to a White Sox game in the last couple of years. I'm not doing that. My season ticket source, they're not renewing their tickets. They had scout seats through the funeral home in my little network when I used to work in the death business. A couple of the funeral directors bring clients, whatever, and they had really good scout seats right behind the dugout. They gave them up. They're not renewing. That's where I got all my tickets. I ain't going. No. What am I going to do? Drive up there on the Dan Ryan, sit in traffic and do all that just to be frustrated? I ain't doing that. No interest. Be good at baseball and I'll be back. It's been way, way too long. Way, way too long. Here's the only thing I'm going to say, then we'll go to the calls. With the Ash thing, the funny part of it is, in my former life, ashes were a big part of it, man. I used to be the mad scientist taking the ashes in the back room and siphon. There's a little funnel and you could siphon the ashes out to be able to give each kid a little bit of mom or whatever. And you got to siphon through the bone fragments and the little things to get the ashes in the funnel. And I used to be a mad scientist, man. And the other thing is, I learned the hard way when I first started that job. You can't have the window open, man. You're messing with them ashes. One breeze comes in, and before you know it, you're breathing in somebody's grandma. It's a mistake you only make once, but it's just funny to me because I have a lot of experience with ashes. Every time a bone would get stuck in the funnel, I'm sitting back there like, come on, grandma, get out of the way. Anyways. That was my old job, you guys. And it would just be frustrating. And I'd be like, really? I need 5 of these little things for each of these. Okay, I guess I'll go in the back room and siphon them out like a mad scientist. That's what happened to your sinuses. Yeah, I know. But literally, man, I learned that the first week. I had the window open trying to get some fresh air. Woo, the breeze comes in and there goes grandma right into my mouth, in my nose. I'm blowing. I'll leave it at that. But really interesting industry. And I got to tell you, people get really freaked out when you drive around with a whole bunch of urns in your car, man. Imagine me going to Rick Donald's or something on the fly and I'm at the drive-thru and I'm paying and they see 3 urns in the front seat strapped in and a few in the back. People were scared of me, man. They thought I was a crazy person. I could just see him looking at me like, what is wrong with this guy? Bro, I'm working here. I'm working here. That's half my job, getting these urns all over the county where they need to be. Anyways. All right. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. Let's, Pat is going to hop in and hop out, and we'll do Rodney. It looks like Chicago's very own. If you're on a hold, you're going to be on the air. I see all of the regulars. I want to hear from all of you. Pat, what you got?
Okay. It is the truest of true stories that John would ride around with urns in the backseat of his car.
It was.
I have witnessed it myself. Dude, I'll never forget when you pulled your golf clubs out and like the canister fell over with all the ash in it. I was like, what the F is wrong with you? And you're like, hey, Grandpa died. I gotta get him somewhere.
It's just work, man. But people used to get freaked out. People used to get really freaked out. But I had to drive them between all the different cemeteries they had to go. And I would pick up the urns from the cremation place and drive them where they needed to be, man. Pat, what do you make of all this? Is Notre Dame's program turning to ash now? What should we make of this?
I'm not gonna, as always, I'm not gonna pass judgment until I see results in the field. But you know, the Mickens aspect that makes me more interested. I don't know if you remember. If did you read Charlie Weiss's book?
Not fully, but a part of it.
So I read Charlie's book, and it's, you know, skinnier than he is, but he had an interesting story in there. And I think it was when he was coaching for Bill Parcells, and Bill Parcells had a named offensive coordinator, but he had Charlie Weiss calling the plays. And the reason he did it this way is because Charlie was brand new play caller, and he didn't want Charlie having to face the media. He just wanted Charlie worrying about play calling. And so he had a different named offensive coordinator to shield his true offense. Parcells had a different named offensive coordinator to shield his true offensive coordinator from the public criticism as he learned how to do it and got into it. And, you know, for Charlie Weisser being everything that he was as a Notre Dame head coach, he was a really damn good offensive coordinator. So I found it, I find this situation kind of like, is this really like the two things I know about Ash from, and Gilmore has been pleading this, and I went and I looked it up, is he is a damn good recruiter, according to Urban Meyer, and he is a damn good coach. So, and that's what I see here with this Ash situation and Mickens. If Mickens is being told Ash is going to come in here for a few years and then you are going to go take this thing over after that, it sounds like to me they're trying to keep the pressure off Mickens, put it on Ash, and let Mickens to look more on the job now that Golden is gone. Because the one thing we did know is Golden ran that defense. That was his defense. He made all of the decisions. You know, the guys might have had this type of run game coordinator and pass game coordinator and all that stuff. They might have had those titles, but you knew Golden was making all the decisions. So I'm wondering if this conversation with Ash coming in is that same thing.
Okay.
Ash is taking the brunt of it. But
does this indicate to you that for whatever reason, Freeman wasn't quite 100% comfortable handing the whole defense over to Mickens quite yet? Like, is that a fair assumption to read into this when that seemed to be like an obvious move and it didn't happen? But like, is that how you read it? Or are we selling either guy short? Or like, how else do you read that dynamic? I don't know.
I mean, this is conjecture, but that's exactly how I read this right now.
Yeah.
If he is telling, if what you're hearing from your sources, and this is why Mickens is going to get more money, he's going to stay. He's telling Mickens this is going to be his defense in a couple years. That's exactly what it is. If that's what it is, why would you're just bringing someone else in to keep the pressure off him, but also at the same time, like we know Golden, for being as brilliant as he was as a defensive play caller, wasn't the heaviest in recruiting. And so I think bringing in a guy who's going to be a dogged recruiter like Marcus Freeman is and like Mickens is takes a lot of pressure off of Mickens and Al Washington to say, hey, look at our defensive coordinator. He's out there everywhere. He's the guy. He's going to be on the road. He's not just recruiting safeties, which was the position that he coached, which I assume he'll coach in Notre Dame. But hopefully he's getting into these defensive tackle rooms and defensive end. He's getting in with these kids. and he's helping bring in that talent to Notre Dame as well, not just the safeties. Because Mickens on the back end, you cannot argue with what Mickens has recruited to Notre Dame. He brought in Morrison. I think that was his first recruit. Leonard Moore, I think in next year, barring some unbelievable injury or fallback, is going to be the best cover corner in the country. He is so big and so strong and so fast. That's Mickens, man.
Yeah.
So I'm really confident in Mickens and what he has done. And I don't blame Marcus Freeman if this Ash hire is just to give Mickens the cover to now learn on the job. Even if they're splitting the responsibility where Ash is designing the plays, or Mickens is designing and Ash is calling it, whatever. Where they're splitting that responsibility. It doesn't sound like a stupid plan to me, because we have seen this plan work before with other coaches. And, okay, so I'm willing to accept it and willing to wait to see what the results produce. Now, if it blows up and the defense is terrible, at the same time, Marcus Freeman is a defensive guy. He was the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame before he became the head coach. So I have no doubt Marcus Freeman can come into that room and settle it down and say, we know we got a top 10 defense, a top 3 defense in this room. So we're sliding down into the teens and the 20s. We go from giving up 13 points a game to 25 points a game. Okay, now Marcus Freeman come in and say, we got to get back to what we were doing that showed that we were one of the top 3 defenses in the country.
Yeah.
So I'm just not as concerned about the Ash hire as other people are.
Have you had the same casual thought I had of, I wonder how this guy rose to the top of this list? I just think it's very interesting because he's not a hot name. He's not even in the college game right now. Like, I'm very intrigued to know. I wish behind the scenes I could find out how that guy rose to the top of this list or whatever. I'm just curious. I don't know if it means anything. I would just like to know, because he wasn't like on that top radar. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's curious at all to me. I think it's pretty obvious, and Gilmore is also hit on this. We know that Marcus Freeman has a relationship with Urban Meyer, and we know Urban Meyer is big on Ash.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that, you know what, and I have no problem with Marcus Freeman calling Urban Meyer and saying, who do you think I should hire? Because Urban Meyer was not just a great coach, but he was a great identifier of other coaches. Coaching is not just about coaching players. It's about coaching coaches. Freeman never had to coach Golden. Freeman doesn't have to coach Denbrock because those guys were already well established. The rest of these guys, Al Washington's been around a while, but a lot of these guys, they need attention too. And so I have no problem if Freeman calls Urban Meyer, and I'm sure he called Jim Tressel, and I'm sure he called, he probably calls Nick Saban. He said he's talked to Nick Saban before. Kirby Smart. He said he's got relationships with these guys. Lou Holtz himself has told us when he had to hire people, he called Bobby Bowden, and said, hey, what do you think of this guy? So it's not a secret that head coaches talk to other head coaches about guys that they had.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that he reached out to Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer said, I think you need to look at Chris Ash. He's gotten a bad rap after Rutgers. And then he's just ended up in bad situation after bad situation that there was nothing Chris Ash could have done. If you look at Texas, if you look at Jacksonville, look at the Raiders, there's nothing he could have done to change the bad slide that those programs and the teams were already in. You can't say that was a Chris Ash.
And the other thing with that, Pat, is that the stint at Rutgers, I'm sorry, that is almost an impossible situation. Schiano's the only guy who can, for whatever reason, make it not awful. But I almost don't even hold his record at Rutgers against him because it's Rutgers. I don't know. I don't know. Pat,
I don't either.
Anything else on that? And then I want to hear your thoughts on this ACC TV situation.
No, we covered it. So the ACC situation, I think, is interesting because it was about the ACC looked like it was on the verge of falling apart. Clemson was going to go to Clemson and Florida State wanted out, and it looks like I don't know the backroom talk. I don't know who made what decision. But it sounds like Notre Dame just saved the ACC. That's what it sounds like to me. Just like Notre Dame saved college football during the COVID year, it sounds like Notre Dame just saved the ACC. And I do think that's in Notre Dame's best interest to keep the ACC where it is. So now they continue to pick and choose who they play. in the rest of their schedule. But yeah, it seems obvious to me that Notre Dame said, fine, we'll play either Louisville, Miami, or Florida State every year. But we have to keep them in the conference, obviously, to do that. And I'm sure Notre Dame's payout is going to go up. But I also hope Notre Dame addresses the scheduling disparity that the ACC used to try to put them in. Do you remember the first year Notre Dame was in the ACC? Every ACC opponent they faced had an off week the week before.
Yeah.
I hope Notre Dame can address that and say, all right, fine, but we're going to do a little bit more on scheduling. We don't want to play we don't want to play Clemson and Florida State every season, and they have an off week the week before us. We don't want that. If they get one, we get one. It's got to be scheduled like that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I have not seen that Notre Dame reaction to this has been interesting online, Pat. I thought maybe Notre Dame fans would be like, oh, look at the ACC trying to set up and make life harder for Notre Dame. No, everybody's saying that ACC slate is boring as can be. Give us the best teams. Let's play them just to have a little like a pulse of the ACC. Like all the Notre Dame fans I've seen are like, okay, at least give us your best because the rest of this conference is a yawn fest.
Yeah, totally agree.
Oh man. Pat, anything else, man? I appreciate you jumping in on a rainy Friday in Illinois.
No, I'm good. I think it's we got a good trajectory on this. I think people should see all these things as positives, and we'll be good to go.
Man, interesting, Pat. Hey, have a good weekend, man. I'll talk to you. Thanks.
All right.
Have a good one. Oh, gosh. It's always good to hear from Pat. All right. I need a nose break, not for the Ashes. I'll be right back. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. It's a caller heavy Friday. Let me know what you guys think. I'm dying, you guys. I'm sorry. We went from minus 20 degrees to 30 degrees. Then it's raining. Then it's snowing. Then it's melting. It's melting my sinuses. Son of a buck. All right. We are back. Swan Dong, that is hilarious. Couple more chats and then right back to the calls. Look at this. Napolitano. John, you could be the 25 version of Paul Bearer for wrestling in the WWE. Dude, that name has always been Undertaker, your brother Kane. He rose from the fire and he's coming for revenge. Paul Bearer. God bless Percy. SPF. Any truth to the new ACC agreement with Notre Dame? Yes, there is. And Notre Dame fans like it. We're sick of playing the boring ACC. At least give us the brand names and then we'll figure out whether they're good or not. Ronald, we're interrupting the shift making the crispy hash browns. Why do you start the show so early? A couple reasons. One is I noticed a gap in the Notre Dame niche content in this window. When you get later in the day, in the season, Freeman does a press conference at 11 o'clock every Monday. You don't want to compete with that. A lot of other people are doing live shows throughout the day and at night, and I got the night show with Goolsby on Mondays. This was an open window, and I thought there was enough of a market that you could have a morning radio show for Notre Dame, and this would be the time. I understand for West Coast people, it's very, very early. But I noticed a gap in the Notre Dame niche, and I figured if I could establish myself there to be a place people go that want that when they wake up or whatever. God bless you if you want to hear and look at me when you wake up. Woof! Buzz's girlfriend, woof! So I noticed that. Here's the other thing. For me, when I quit the corporate thing and wanted to do this full time, I felt that I needed to force myself into somewhat of a regular schedule to make sure I got out of bed and got going and was productive and got content out early in the day and then work on other things. it was a big priority of me to get on a schedule that forces myself to be accountable on a routine and not willy-nilly. One day I'll do a show, one day I won't. I needed to get myself on a schedule I could hold myself to and hold myself accountable. I could have figured this was coming from crying. Callers, you're all going to be on. This is regarding me talking about Rutgers. This absolute failure on his resume doesn't count. Like, fine. If you think I already opened this up by saying I see good things on the guy's resume. I see red flags on the resume. I'm in the wait and see camp before I see what's going on. Retaining Mickens gives me a lot, it's a comfort blanket. So I'm wait and see. So I don't know. And then Andrew, combating that, says Rutgers was extremely broken on probation, had an AAC roster. Ash was not a good head coach, but Vince Lombardi would have struggled. Chiano forced boosters to make huge investments. I also think Andrew knows about this. He went to Rutgers. So if anybody in the Notre Dame niche we would defer to on Rutgers stuff, it would be a guy that went to Rutgers. And John, the start is perfect for us East Coasters. Yeah, I needed to keep myself accountable, you guys. I love John's misguided passion. I'm telling you, one of my favorite Notre Dame things that's ever happened since I've done this show is Jack Swarbrick publicly complaining about people in their basement that think they're reporting the news that don't know what's going on. When Jack and I both know, we both knew exactly what was going on. Notre Dame messed up that hire and got called out. I love the fact that I know I personally bothered that guy, and I've heard that from other people too, that it did get to him, and I'm just glad I have that impact. WPP, $10 holler. He was on fire on the Monday night show, by the way, on Patreon. ACC is fighting for its life. We'll cut any deal. Best way to preserve ND independence is to breathe life into the ACC, at least for a little while more. That's interesting. I like that angle. I'm not seeing really any pushback from the Notre Dame people. It seems like we want to play the better teams, man. Whatever that counts as in the ACC, we want to see it. If you're on old, you're going to be on the air. It is Chicago's very own Tom Frawley. How you doing, Tom?
Hey, John. I'm well rested, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. I got to tell you, Tom, I'm starting to get some of my energy back. I needed a week and a half.
Yeah.
My batteries were on empty. I'm starting to feel a little better and have more energy. But it was an honest to God struggle for about a week and a half after the big crash out.
And so, yeah, because I mean, it feels like a month ago. And it's only been 11 days, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot has happened in that time. And that's why I took about 4 or 5 days of just, you got to get quiet. I like the wise man once said, the quieter you become, the more you're able to hear. And that's what I had to do. I did some reading. I got away from things. I had to take care of some stuff. And then I come back and, there's like in politics, a week in politics is an eternity. Well, that could be said of Notre Dame football and all the stuff that's going on. I mean, the coaching changes, the transfer portal, that's the world of college football. Like it or not, it's here. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if this Blanchard fella is going to be the glue that holds some of it together. If I look back and honestly assess what happened this year, I mean, they had a nucleus of kids that bought in, and Marcus Freeman put together a hell of a coaching staff. So let's see what he does with this new break. I got to think like Pat said, we got to wait and see on the Ash thing, but we're 86 days away from the blue gold game, right? And the most important thing is going to be the quarterback battle and the component. I'm excited about that. I mean, if you look at the arm talent of Minchie, we know what Angeli can do and we know what he can't do, right? But we don't know about Carr and we don't know about Minchie. We know They have NFL arm talent. That's been talked about. And they're all-around athletic ability. Now, can they put it together? Can Denbrock devise an offense so that he breaks the, you got Faison and Greathouse coming back, and they're great role models for the younger kids. And then Malachi Fields coming in. Now, he's not the swiftest of receivers, but he, as he demonstrated in the Notre Dame game this year, he can make problems. He's a possession receiver. I'd love to see this Cam Williams and KK Smith and Micah Gilbert. I want to see them downfield. They got to open up that passing game because they will have that offensive line and the running game. This could be a very dangerous offense. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Tom, I genuinely mean this. For the first time in a while now, I want an honest to God open competition for this quarterback spot. Not you're paying $1 million to bring in a transfer and it's unspoken he's going to be the starter no matter what they say and what they're trying to tell you. The writing was on the wall due to where that check was being cashed, and the last two have been like that for sure. I am all for a fair, open competition where each of those guys get a shot with the ones against the ones and get equal reps. Like, I know that's not ideal and you would rather have a guy you could give more of the reps to, but I don't think you're in that position. And I want to see all these guys battle it out and whoever plays the best win the job.
Yeah, and I think you will see that, honestly. I mean, now, I don't know. I haven't heard. Well, they haven't announced when the actual first practice day is yet. Did they? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But whatever. It's usually 35 days out from the blue gold game. I whatever that NC2A rule is that they got to. They can only have so many practices in the spring. But I got to believe, even all the way up to the blue gold game, they usually have that full scrimmage before the blue gold game.
Yeah. And
we should know something by then where, okay, you got a pretty good idea who's going to be getting most of the reps with the ones, but I don't know how he's going to structure the game. Is it going to be the controlled scrimmage? I personally would like to see the second team offensive lineman with the number one quarterback against the number one defense. I want to see the escapability when the pocket closes down. I want to see the athletic ability of Minchie and Carr. Can they get out of the pocket? Can they get to the perimeter? And what do they do under pressure? And then obviously I'd like to see one-on-one. This is probably going to be the most important blue gold game that I've seen it since the whole era.
Yeah, you got to get this right and you got to figure it out. You have Miami and Texas A&M are your first two games. You just cannot afford to not get this right because there's no leeway. There's no easing into the schedule whatsoever. So they got to get it right. And I just hope for all these kids involved that have been loyal to Notre Dame and fighting it out, I hope they all get a chance. And like you said, Tom,
I think they will.
Yeah.
I mean, even I know there's some, I was reading some other stuff yesterday and I heard one of your competitors' shows yesterday talking about, Angeli, and all right, maybe that's not a bad idea. If the job isn't won completely going into that Miami game, using him because he's calm and he's good under pressure. And let's face facts, Miami's defense is not going to be, it won't be demonstrably better than it was this year, which is a plus for Notre Dame, even playing in the first game. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's a very important cycle here for Freeman and to try and get this right. And there's really no leeway to make a mistake. They got to get it right.
Well, I think the ACC thing too, that component you were talking about, there's no question what Pat said. Notre Dame and with all the Notre Dame haters and everybody join a conference. Well, this is as close as they're going to get to a conference. And the fact that they actually save the ACC. Now, that money component, from what I understand, because they signed up with the 3 top teams year in and year out, and I do believe they put that stipulation in that they're not going to face the 3 best ACC teams year in and year out with them coming in off of a bye. So that was stipulated, is what I understood.
Gotcha.
And don't forget, you throw in a stingy, sometimes dangerous North Carolina State team. Boston College is on the climb. That's a rivalry game. This could be, well, look, as far as I'm concerned, it's as close as it's going to get. And I think the level of competition will be there. And, when they put the strength of schedule component in, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to hurt Notre Dame. I think it's going to help them. Plus, on the back end, it's one of the reasons why they started when Swarbrick signed that deal with the ACC. It's because a lot of the Notre Dame alumni live in the Atlantic Coast Conference states now. That's where a lot of them have shifted. I mean, between Raleigh, Durham, and South Carolina into Georgia, there's quite a bit of Notre Dame people down there now, a lot more than there ever was. So, you're kind of fitting it in to the whole package, and we'll see. But I'm looking forward to it. And if they ever say anything to us, the only thing I want them to sort out is they got to upgrade the ACC referees. God, they're bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the general landscape of officiating in the sport seems to have gone down dramatically, and I'm not sure if it's that we have more maybe we have more technology to see all the things they're wrong at or whatever, or bad at, but it's been really rough. Tom, anything else, man? I really appreciate you jumping in. I know you're busy in your personal life and got a lot going on. Take a little bit of a break, man. I appreciate you jumping back in. You're a legend on these airwaves. You know that.
I'm a legend in my own mind. No, listen, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. And everybody that reached out to me that was worried that, I'm okay. I just had to take a break from the negativity, especially those people, that team in Columbus. I won't even say that name anymore.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get those. I can't wait till we get them in a playoff again.
Oh, man.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, have a really good weekend, man. Enjoy the time away from football and just enjoy it. And before you know it, we'll be at the Blue and Gold game, drink a beer for breakfast, buddy. It's coming.
I can't wait. 86 days, brother.
There we go, man. Tom, Chicago's very own. Sorry, man, if I cut you off there. Mark with glasses. Man, I love Tom. His energy is just fantastic. If I'm MIA for this chat for more than a week, check the obituaries or call the cops. Something's up. It's just going to say Mark with glasses, and his obituary picture is his logo here. Oh, man, that's funny. That is really funny. Hey, I got to ask Pat this. I think me and Pat talked about what game we were going to do the tailgate for. But I forget which one it was. So I got to have Pat remind me because a bunch of people are already asking me, trying to make their plans. We picked one of them. I forget which one it is. I genuinely do. WPP, $10 hour. Caller is mistaken. There's no such thing as a poor blue and gold game. The game is a farce, and no position battles are decided in this contest. WPP, he did say, I think he means when he said like the most important blue and gold game, I think he means an important spring overall. I mean, I don't want to put words in Tom's mouth, but I think he means there's a lot of big things you got to figure out and get right if you're Freeman in this cycle. So I think he was referring to spring overall. But just in spring, they do that full scrimmage before the blue and gold game that means more than the blue and gold game. And then when you get into fall camp in August, they always do that private full scrimmage at the end of camp that like nobody gets to see or barely any of the media gets to see. And that's more important than anything you see in the day-to-day thing. So yeah, there's an understanding there. Andrew Gilmore, I got to ask this question with this Belichick, North Carolina thing. What I know from his personality and how he is, I have a really, really, really hard time seeing somebody of Bill Belichick's caliber and with the skins on the wall he has, dealing with all of these entourages in high school and the immaturity and all the games being played and him going to all these high schools trying to impress people to go to North Carolina. Maybe this all works out great. I'm just having a hard time seeing Bill Belichick do some of the grindy work it takes and having the patience level it takes to do some of that with some of these situations you end up in with a lot of these kids. I have no idea. Solely, I think the Ash hire is going to be a benefit to the program. He is the guy with the experience we need and is looking to get back into the game. And I think we'll have a total ND buy-in from him. There you go. So there's something on the other side balancing it out. Thank you for that. It's a $5 holler. Thanks for the show, John. No problem. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate that. Andrew Gilmore says he's incredibly driven and that's why it might work. All right, let's keep the calls going. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. 415, Rodney, I got you. Mark, I got you. Everybody, what's going on?
Good morning, John. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Like I talked about with Tom, it took me a while, but I am starting to kind of get some of my energy back. But I admit I was burnt out and crashed out after the season ended.
No doubt. No doubt. Everybody was and is and still kind of coming back at their own pace, and that's okay.
Yep, that's totally fine. And listen, man, I appreciate people reaching out like, John, I'm sorry. I need a little break. Like, you don't owe me anything. Nobody owes me an apology or anything. But it means the world to me to have a bunch of people emailing or texting me like, bro, I need a little break. I'll be back. Like when spring ball kicks up. Like, I appreciate the heads up, and nobody owes me anything.
Yeah, but that's the difference between your show and everybody else's. And that's what we're all like kind of gravitating towards is like, this doesn't feel necessarily like an ESPN show or something to that degree where it's just, they're so far above us. Like this is straight up Notre Dame fandom family to a certain extent. I mean, you've known some of these people for years, and for probably even longer than that, like Pat and some other folks. So it just makes it makes it a little bit more of an intimate deal. And I think everybody here, whether you're on the chat or whether you call in or whatever, has this ability to feel like they are a part of something that's very special. And so, of course, we don't want to let each other down, right? Family members don't want to let each other down. Friends don't want to let each other down. Teammates don't want to let each other down. So that's why people are calling in, because they care about your show, or reaching out and letting you know.
Man, it does mean the world to me. And you are right. I've told people this before. I genuinely mean it. The best part about this whole thing growing, this community, it's the people I've met. And it's not a cliche. These people are my real life friends now, all bonded with like the foundation of this whole Notre Dame thing. And then it's just the nicest people in the world I've met from this, man. Every tailgate, more people join. It's just a beautiful thing. I love it.
No doubt. And hey, once you and Pat finalize that game, let us know, because my family and I were definitely gearing up to take the kids to South Bend this season coming up.
Oh man.
And so that would probably be the game that we would choose.
It should be.
So let us know whichever one you're going with.
We'll figure it out. And it's going to be, man, I'm excited about it. And I'm excited for the blue and gold game too, because it's a chance to kind of party and relax without the stress. Right? You get the Notre Dameness, but without the stress of like, they can't lose a game. And also it's low stress as far as like, you don't need a parking pass. You're not in line for 2 hours getting in and out of anything. You could just pull in and park and drink beer for breakfast the way nature intended
it. No doubt. Absolutely. Let's get into some Notre Dame stuff. What do you want to talk about, boss?
Okay. What do you make of the Ash thing, man? This is one of those situations. Everybody here knows I'm very opinionated with everything. I'm telling people, I don't know how this is going to go. I see the good parts. I see the red flags. I am genuinely in the wait and see mode. But with the kicker of, if Mickens is still in the building, that is like my safety blanket that gives me a little extra comfort. It's not a slam dunk guarantee to work, but I don't guarantee it's going to fail. I'm in wait and see, man. I'm right in the middle.
Well, I'll say this. I agree with you. I definitely feel a lot more comfortable knowing that Mickens is here. As long as he stays, then it feels a lot more comfortable of a situation. Let's say just because of the fact that it's been 10 years, we don't know where he's going to be at. I'll give you one other caveat is the fact that because of the fact that he came from the Urban Meyer tree, and so to speak, and I've heard that he kind of coached, and this is all hearsay, so I don't know, but from what I understand, that he coaches a little bit more hardcore old school, and that doesn't necessarily fly sometimes in this in today's college football, right? So you can't just beat up on players the way that you used to psychologically in certain ways, right? So I'm just, I guess my thing is I feel comfortable for two reasons. One, because Mickens is staying, and the other one is the fact that Freeman is the one who's guiding the ship. And like I said before, if we're going to be all in on him, then the trust has got to be there for him to take us in the right directions. And if he doesn't pan out, if Ash doesn't pan out, then guess what? We have our backup, and our backup and our safety net is of Mickens, whether he's ready or not.
And
at that point, he would have to step in.
I want to make a note here. The people that I've talked to about this that kind of get ahead of the curve, they made a point to say that the plan would be for Mickens to be the next DC alone whenever the Ash thing runs course. That's the plan. Now, if somebody offers him a head job or something before then, that could change. But I've been told that was the plan. And so it really does seem like Freeman just wasn't quite fully handing it over to Mickens yet. The co-DC thing, you let him learn under this, whatever, with play calling. That's what it feels like to me. So I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let him. It's kind of like this. You draft a quarterback, right, in the NFL, and sometimes they sit under that quarterback for a couple of years. In my neck of the woods over here, Steve Young sat behind Joe Montana, and then he learned as much as he could, and then bam, was ready to rock and roll. Kind of the same thing here. Let's let him get his feet wet, so to speak, a little bit more, take on some more responsibility, and then not overwhelm him, especially coming off of a national championship type of season, right, where we make it to the game, where now the expectation, all the pressure is going to be really high, and we just let him grow and learn at his own pace, and just kind of give him a little bit more here or there, and within a year or two, whether Ash is here for one season, 2 seasons, or whatnot, he'll be ready to rock, and then it will be his program. And the way it feels to me is that Marcus Freeman is really orchestrating this team and this organization the way he sees his vision set. He has a vision for this team. He has a vision for where it's going to go. And it's already gone so far, and it can continue to go further. I mean, think about this. Am I right? He's still in his 30s, correct? So,
yeah.
I mean, think about that. He could be here for another 20 years if everything were to go right. He could be our next, kind of like a Nick Saban somewhere, so to speak, but just a staple within that organization. And I'm just fully on board with it.
Yeah, I understand the questions, and I am not saying that those are invalid or unjustified for anybody that does have concerns. But I'm also, it's not a guarantee it's going to fail. And nobody wanted this job and Notre Dame went into the bargain bin. I just think that's a little extreme too. And so we'll see how it goes. And then I don't know, this GM thing, that Blanchard guy, I've heard nothing but good things. I would like to see him get the job. Maybe you could raise the ceiling of this recruiting outfit. Maybe it's time for new blood in that personnel department and building out the infrastructure to that. I'm fine with that. Any thoughts about that ACC TV deal? Want Notre Dame to play that rotation of their 3 best brands, play 2 of them a year? Any thoughts about that and where Notre Dame fits in that ACC now?
Yeah, I would say this. As far as what everybody was talking about before with the scheduling and the bye weeks and making them all primetime games type of thing, that definitely needs to be kind of ironed out. But other than that, bring it. Fine, no problem. Let's go. If we're going to be that next top tier, right, like how you have all these national media outlets speaking about how it's always been Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and then everybody else in the second tier, right? If we want to go from this like second tier level up to the first tier and be one of those dominant programs, then we're going to have to take on these kind of teams and just really show them who's the leader of the pack. Make themselves the alpha. Like, we're not even part of your, the ACC, and we're going to dominate you. And that's the kind of mindset that we have to bring it in. But with that, do it smartly, do it intelligently, schedule correctly. You definitely don't want to have it, where it's to their advantage almost every single time.
Yeah.
So, which is what has happened over the years, where you're like, my God, okay, now we're going into another night game. Remember, what was it, like 2 years ago or whatever, when they made the Duke game, they like changed it to a night game, and Marcus Freeman was like, really? Like, okay.
Yeah,
like,
you ended up with like 4 or 5 primetime night games in a row. And those are different, and it's a different intensity for all those nights. Yeah, they all got flexed. That was a long month, man, because every game was a primetime night game. So yeah, I'd like to see Notre Dame flex their muscle a little bit and be open to this, but like within some guardrails, like Pat said, where every good team you play from the AC doesn't have a 2-week head start on you, whatever. And so I understand that. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for checking in.
Absolutely. I got one last thing for you. And this is it. I'm going to say a name and then say a little something about it, and then how it ties back to Notre Dame. And this will be a little interesting. But yesterday, Cam Newton on his, whatever, on ESPN was talking about how he would rather win an MVP than that of the Super Bowl and be a Super Bowl victory quarterback, right? And I thought it's so fascinating, because I sat there and I was like, that is one of the absolute, and I've had a lot of problems and issues with listening to like some of his takes, especially lately that he's been on the air. But it just goes to show how many people are out there that just really look out for themselves.
Yeah, that's telling.
That they feel like
that's
I have
really
to be,
telling.
You know what I'm saying?
I do not like that.
It's very telling.
I don't like that.
Whereas when you look at this team, when you look at this program, how they fight for one another, you look at like just, it doesn't matter. Like look at Tyler Buckner as the prime example. The kid is like literally left the school, came back humbly, right? It was like, can I just be a part of the team? And then he ends up riding the bench the entire year and then throws one pass in a crucial time, to help his team, to elevate his team. And it was beautiful. And it's just one of those things where it's like, if you can get the mindset in a group of people together that all believe in the mission, all believe in the vision, like we do here, it goes far above and beyond. And that championship of winning the Sugar Bowl, of winning the Orange Bowl, of going to the national championship, those memories will last forever, a lot further than that of, oh, I won an MVP. I just know at least I did my part. The rest of the team failed.
And here's the other thing of it.
No.
Here's the other part of it. That's the kind of thing that even if it's in your mind, you can't say until you're done playing the game, right? Imagine if an active quarterback said that. Like, but it does kind of tell you where they're at. And I do understand personally, like your own success or like your next contract, like is it the most important thing to you? But like, man, that's really putting yourself out there. I don't like it at all, but it isn't surprising given who that guy is. And you could see his ego just by the way he carries himself. I mean, kind of where he's at. Hey, man, I really appreciate you touching base. You've been really good calls lately. Appreciate you.
You got it, John. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, have a good weekend. What a nice guy, man. I love when that guy calls. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. Couple more chats. We got a good rotation of calls, chats here. Thanks for the show. Appreciate it. Here's the problem. Pat's saying, his wife's saying they're not allowed to do the Purdue game for the tailgate. The problem with A&M is it's going to be an absolute cluster nightmare. It's going to be an absolute cluster nightmare. First home game. It's A&M, so the tickets and pricing are going to be outrageous. And one of the reasons I pick a lower level game is for my stress level so that I can relax and not be a psychopath while I'm trying to entertain hundreds of people. which happened at the Indiana game where I was not fun and not engaged in the tailgate at all, not drinking my beer. Too big of a moment. It was not party time. It was serious stuff. But it's going to be really expensive. That's the other thing. I try and do these games so families can come. And I like it when people can bring the kids and get a $60 ticket up at the top for the family thing. And I really do try and do that for that reason. A&M's going to be a cluster across the board. Pricing terrible. Everybody's going to want to go to the first home game of the year. I mean, it's going to be, that's chaos. And I am not going to be able to be my normal self for the A&M game. It's going to be too big of a moment. So I got to really think about what we're going to do then if Pat can't do Purdue. I mean, do you push it out to Boise maybe? If you get, I also don't want to get much further down the line to where the weather starts to become questionable, at least early in the year. It'll be nice out. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that. Yeah, it'll definitely be a night game. Like, it's going to be a long, expensive day that I don't think I have any interest in, to be honest with you. So I don't know. It doesn't sound fun to me. I'm going to be too wound tight like I was for Indiana. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this. Pat, what do you guys have going on that she's writing no Notre Dame? What do you got going on that can't be done another week? Whatever she wants to do it Friday. Rodney, what's going on? Rodney.
Oh, John, my undertaker.
I love it. God bless old Percy Pringle of the WWF, man. A loyal soldier for a long time. I love Paul Bear and all those vignettes. That is my childhood. God, I love Paul. I love Paul Bear. And then later in life, when I dealt with these ashes every day, the Paul Bear thing was never more relevant and funnier than ever. I absolutely love it. Welcome to the show, Rodney. What's on your mind, brother?
Golly, it's just funny. We've been so bombarded already with those ashisms, and it's just it ain't gonna stop because, like you said, one way or another,
yep.
Whether we're kicking butt or we're getting our butt kicked.
Yep. Yep.
So many. Oh goodness. Boy, there's a lot of thoughts I had. First of all, Tom said 86 days to the Blue Gold game, and I immediately Googled it. I have seen no date set for that, so maybe he has inside knowledge that I don't have.
I believe is one of those weekends, the 26th or whatever. I think it's going to be the last weekend in April. And the other thing I checked, Rodney, I asked my stadium people because I figured they would be the first ones to know because obviously they have preparation to do and they don't know yet. And that's coming from the workers. So they don't know yet. Here's the other thing that makes me think it's going to be that week. The last weekend in April is I Googled the hotels in town. In the weekend before the 26th, it's like $150 a night. And then you look at that next weekend and it's like $450 a night. So I think they have the inside scoop that it's going to be that weekend. Otherwise, I see no reason why all those hotel prices would already be. I thought maybe I could get in early and book that and be in town for cheap before it gets announced. The weekend of the 26th, the hotels are already outrageous. So I'm thinking.
Okay, well,
I'm thinking it's going to be that.
It's got to be that weekend, and there's no way. It has to be. I mean, why would they do that?
Yep.
So okay, all right, and I mean, fair enough. I'm sure there's inside information they just haven't put on the website yet. I just want to make sure I was. That's probably great for me because I got a show the first 2 weeks of April. So anyway. Yeah, man, the Chris Ash thing. I'm thinking. Here's the way I'm looking at it, John. I know probably some people are looking at as the name that shall not ever be mentioned, BVG. A guy who was out of the college game for a while, came back and completely screwed our defense. But Al Golden was also out of the league for a while, and we saw the top end of what that can do.
The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I think the biggest knocks I've seen on him, other than the Rutgers thing, which, I don't really care how a guy is as a head coach. I care about how he is as a coordinator. I also care about top end coaches like Urban Meyer, people like that are recommending him very highly. But the biggest knock I've heard is his personality. He's rubbed people the wrong way. The only thing I'll say about that, and I know nothing about his evolution as a human being, but I did see, I think he's 52 now. A lot of that hot-headedness a person will have a lot of times is in their 30s, 20s, 30s, sometimes early 40s. And then by the time they're in their, middle-aged years, they tend to mellow out a little bit. So, I know nothing about that. I'm just saying that maybe that was just something that happened earlier in his career when he felt like he had to, show his moxie or something. I don't know. So I think that's my biggest question mark. But here's the thing. Ultimately, this is a Freeman's a defensive-minded coach, okay? And I'm assuming it's contingent on those other spots, those other coaching positions remaining intact, because a lot of times a defensive coordinator will come in and want to bring his own assistant. But I'm assuming the whole reason they brought in Chris Ash is that Mickens did decide to stay, Al Washington did decide to stay, so on and so forth. And as long as you have that nucleus there of Freeman, leading the program as a defensive-minded coach, the assistants that have been great in developing the talent that we've had and coaching that talent, I think then this can be a really good hire. I would also, maybe I shouldn't assume this, but I guess I would assume that if Mickens does remain on the staff, which it looks like he is, that they will probably be co-defensive coordinators, but Ash will call the plays. So I don't know, lots of thoughts that I have about, how this will all work out, but I kind of agree with Pat. I'm not real worried about this hire because of who we have at the top. Freeman has come such a long way in just 3 years. And again, if he was an offensive-minded coach and he was hiring someone kind of like he did with Denbrock to take over the offense, then I'd be much more concerned about, that leader, okay? But the fact that that's Freeman's side of the ball, I'm really not as concerned. I'm really not. And, and not only for the Notre Dame defense, but for the guy himself. I mean, this is obviously a chance for him to get back on the map again. Having some, perceived failures along the way lately. The fact he's come from the NFL in his past 2 or 3, 4 stops is, I think, possibly an advantage. So anyway, those are my thoughts on him. The Blanchard thing, everything I'm reading, just like you, has really got me excited. My question is, what's the timeline of that hire taking place if it does take place?
It's got to be soon because right now you have nobody running all of that stuff that Chad was running. So the timing's got to be sooner rather than later, I would think.
Right, you would think, right? And I'm just like, I'm kind of anxious for this because, everything I'm reading is just fantastic.
Again, opposite of Ash, I have not read or heard one negative thing about this guy at all, like nowhere. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to, who knows what he's getting paid there or whatever, but you would got to assume that a Texas Tech versus Notre Dame, pretty no-brainer decision, right? I mean, I don't know. And he's been there 3 years. Bowden was with us for 3 years. So, I mean, maybe he's ready to move on. And I hope it happens really soon because, like you said, everything I'm reading about him sounds great. So, man, that's all really I got today, man. I'm just really happy for where the program is, just the placehold that we're at right now. I don't know, man. I think that I've been the whole thing about Notre Dame finishing 15 to 20. First of all, when does that happen? I don't remember Notre Dame's recruiting falling from to 15 to 20. I think as low as we've fallen is 12.
I think it's 12. I think it's 12, 13, 14 has been the range, and I need you in the top 10.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. But for Freeman, the 3 of the 4 years he's been there, I mean, they were top 10 classes. And then it was this last one, I think, our last couple where they've fallen, to 11th or 12th, at least based on threes rankings and whatever. So, man, they got to move that ticker up. And I think that's why it's like, the Bowden thing going to USC and offer him 3 times the money, I wouldn't have matched that offer either. It's like, I'm not saying you did a bad job, but it's like, but did you do a good enough job? When your classes are falling and then you want more money, it's like, well, come on now. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that's not the only job of the GM. I get that. And he did do a really good job bringing in some of those transfer guys.
But I do get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. I don't know, man. It's just, I think when you have the success Notre Dame had this year, not ultimate success, but a lot of success, I think change makes people hesitant then. And you're like, do you want to rock the apple cart of what you got going on? And like, there's just a little anxiety there. But I don't think any of this stuff Notre Dame's going through is that abnormal, man. It's just, I think it's hitting us all. Yeah,
not at all. Not at all. I mean, this happens everywhere. I mean, good on Penn State for getting Jim Knowles. I mean, I give them that. They, good for them. Maybe, did we go after him as hard as we should have? I don't know. I'm not there. Maybe it wasn't as good of a fit for whatever reason. I mean, maybe, sometimes then just because someone's got a great name and they've done some good things in other programs, maybe it wasn't the right defensive fit they wanted. Maybe, he's more, I don't know. I'm not saying, I don't know, but, and then John, just the last thing I'm saying, then I'll leave. There hasn't been really a lot of talk about the offensive side of the ball. I think what's really interesting here is, Golden's first year to second year made a huge jump. I thought Denbrock did a very, very good job his first year. But going from, Riley Leonard, God bless him, man, hell of a talented runner and leader, especially, and competitor. And love the guy. Very happy for what he brought. I'll never forget him. I mean that. But I will say, I think the next group of quarterbacks are more fit for what Denbrock wants to run in terms of the system. My question is, we hear a lot about Carr, for a lot of, Angeli, obviously, we've seen a lot of him. What is the scouting reports right now? I heard about it before the season, but I haven't heard much as the season went on about Menchie's development.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've heard excuse me, he loves Notre Dame. He doesn't want to transfer from Notre Dame. I've heard he really, really likes being at life at Notre Dame, but he has got to find a way to stand out and either be he's got to find a way this spring if he wants a shot to stand out and really ball out. And like that's the vibe I'm getting, is that like they're waiting for him to make a move that's undeniable and earn more. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. But he likes Notre Dame. I don't think it's a thing where he's like checking out, ready to transfer. I've heard he wants to stick it out at Notre Dame. He loves it there, but he's really got to step forward to kind of earn more opportunity. That's the vibe I'm getting.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I'm glad we're not going outside of what we have in house right now, because I really like those three guys. I want to see them, compete and find out who's the best and who's backing up and everything else. So I'll leave you with that, John, man. Have a great day. All right.
Have a good one, man. Great hearing from you. Mark with glasses. What's going on, buddy?
I can't make heads or tails out of all this.
I know.
But, to me, X is underwhelming, and I kind of thought of it. I think Mickens, having only been a position coach for Freeman, maybe expecting him to be able to game plan and oversee everything and play call, ultimately was maybe too big a gamble, which I can understand. What I don't understand is then hiring a guy who hasn't done it in 5 years, and then the couple of instances he did do it are few and far between. So it's like, there's maybe a more established guy with a longer track record of doing it. I can understand it, but he's done a lot of other stuff way more than he's been in DC. And that's kind of my only question. Like, yeah, he's further along, but not very.
Yeah, it's just, it's really interesting, man. And okay, does the Mickens being retained and looked at as a part of the future make you feel any better? Like, to me, that almost feels like a little safety blanket, safety valve to me. Like, I feel like this move would have been a lot more risky if he left, but if you're keeping him, I feel a little more open to it. Do you feel any of that?
Yeah, kind of, but like the idea of like putting a placeholder in a position and worrying about position coaches doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, you want to keep the guy, but I feel like you got to nail defensive coordinator should be the priority.
Mark, so Ryan Roll wrote, Mark with concerns is your new name.
Yeah, I'm worried about everything.
Yeah. Dude, Mark, that's what I say all the time. If I'm not worried about something or bitching about something, call 911 because something's wrong with me. If I'm not worried or complaining, there's something wrong with me because there's always something.
Yeah, and like the people that are like hanging his hat on what he did at Ohio State 10 years ago, like he was co-DC with Fickle, and Fickle was, had 15 years of experience, and I think Ash had 1 or 2. So, I mean, who do you think was calling the shots there? I don't think that, and then he's only done it a handful of times when he's got this mix of bouncing around all over the place. So, it remains to be seen. I don't quite understand it, but he's not going to have the benefit of the doubt when things start going bad.
Yeah.
The fan base is going to.
Yeah. It's just, does it surprise you at all that, like, I think a lot of people just kind of thought Mickens would get this role and it would be an easy, obvious transition. Is there any surprise of like, this kind of indicates to you Freeman doesn't quite feel like he is ready to do all of those responsibilities in the call playing and all that, or the play calling rather? And like, I don't know. I think a lot of people just thought that would be the obvious move and it hasn't happened. Maybe Freeman thinks he needs a little more grooming before he's ready to take that over. Yeah. And if you're able to keep him, I feel a lot more open to this than if you weren't. And I was told the plan is for him to be the next full-time DC after Ash would be the plan. It's just, what if somebody makes you a Godfather offer you can't refuse in between that time is my thought. I don't know.
Well, the fan base is going to lose their shit. What's going to happen if that happens?
Yeah, but Mark, but also if Freeman gives that job to Mickens and he's inexperienced or whatever with play calling and it doesn't go that well, Freeman gets roasted for that too. So like, you know what I mean? Exactly, like I get him wanting a guy with more of that experience to do all this. And if it goes bad, he's going to get ripped. But if you just went with Mickens and he isn't calling plays and then that goes bad, you're going to go, oh, it's Notre Dame and you couldn't find a guy with more experience. Like, you're going to get ripped no matter what if it doesn't go well.
Yeah, and that's why I said, like, I understand it, but then when you look at Ash's resume, it's like, well, I mean, he's done more of everything but DC. So, and then like the GM thing is pretty interesting. I saw that he had back-to-back top 25 classes at Texas Tech. So, I mean, there's reason to be optimistic there. And it is kind of funny that all the pictures on Twitter, he didn't have sleeves on.
Yep.
And he's on there looking jacked, and he's replacing the guy that skipped around in a leprechaun costume.
Yep. Dude,
so
Mark,
right off the bat.
Mark, I love this. I'm so glad you brought this up. That is one of the things that I kind of thought of right away too, is like, if I want changes to this recruiting operation and for you to kick it up a notch and get in the top 10, like, what would that look like? And if it's something where you flip that vibe in there, like the way you're talking, from dressing up like a leprechaun, skipping around, to lifting weights, being jacked in a cutoff, and having a different kind of vibe about you. I thought of that, man. I'm glad you brought it up. I legitimately thought of that too, of like, maybe that is a little change in the vibe there that would help. I'm with you, man. I thought of that too.
Yeah, and I know Goolsby talked about it, and I kind of scrolled back on Blanchard's Twitter, trying to see like what he's all about, and it seems like the dude's obsessed with speed. So if you go back like all the way back, that seems like that's like his number one focus. And then just one last thing. I've been a fan my whole life. I started going to games in '86, and the only loss I've been at in person was my very first game was the Pitt Ironhead Hayward. So I'm like 30-0 or 40-0, however many games. But maybe it's recency bias or something. But thinking about this season, and this team, like the sum being greater than the parts, I think this team was my favorite all-time team. And there's a lot of players I love, like more individually over the years. But I think this collection is my favorite. And, maybe that changes the further removed, but like kind of all things considered, especially, the last 10 days, kind of trying to get over the game and reflecting on the season. Like I just freaking love this team.
Yeah, it's man, this is it's never a dull moment, Mark, and we're gonna see what comes next, and we're all gonna be at blue and gold, and we're all gonna be stressing out. Like it's as the world turns in Notre Dame land, Mark. It's been I had a huge winning streak going earlier in my life, Mark. I had a notepad. I wrote all the games that I've been at, and it got up to 50 something without a loss, and then it all fell apart, and I quit keeping track. After the first one, after I think it was 52 I made winning streak, and then I quit keeping track after the first loss. It was all ruined.
Yeah, I'm like 4-0 or 5-0 USC games.
Mark Beef Eater put Mark with ulcers is your new name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I love this group, Mark. I love our group.
I think the spring game is going to be the 26th, is it? Because the other
that's what it. According to the hotels, Mark, I wanted to get in town early, go out on Friday with my people, and go have pizza and go do stuff. And then I look at the hotels; it's like $462 to stay at a just some bland hotel in late April in middle of nowhere, Indiana. I hate it.
Yeah, and the portal opens up in 75 days, so we'll have to worry about that when that comes again.
Yeah,
but, that's all I got.
Oh man, Mark, I love you, buddy, man. You're always here. You're always around. I really appreciate you, man. So thanks for always being a part of the crew, man. Appreciate you.
And the chat turned my ass up.
Yeah.
Later, bye.
Have a good one, Mark. God, I love that guy. Oh man. Tim Ide in the chat. By the way, Tim Ide dropped some bombs on we got a text thread going between some of the different content creators. I'm telling you, Tim Ide drops bombs sometimes, man. I'll just be sitting there writing an article or doing something. I'll pull up my phone and he just drops these one-liners in the text thread that are hilarious. He's been nailing it. Tom, you need someone dedicated to managing the roster with NIL now. College football GMs are a must. They really are. It is there's too many things to navigate now in the modern world of college football and all the changes that are always coming and going and everything. There is way too much for the head coach to be able to keep up with all of it. That's my interpretation of the dynamic is there's just way too much going on that you have to negotiate and deal with for the head coach to be able to do it all. So the way I understand it is Tim Ide, the best hair, the ND pods. I don't really think that's in doubt. I really do think that he does have the best hairline of anybody in the group. But the way I understand it is Freeman's got to have trust in that GM that he shares his vision with that guy. And then that guy goes and does a lot of the dirty work. And the hard recruiting work, the negotiations on NIL, looking at the roster and being like, who are we going to lose? Who are we not going to lose? How are we going to fill it? Who do we need to make an NIL deal for that's in the program? We don't want to go somewhere else or go to the league. Looking at the portal and coming up with options for the portal, sniffing around that. all the recruiting stuff answers to that guy. It is the fullest of full-time jobs, and you really need a guy on the modern cutting edge of it, especially at Notre Dame, to be able to deal with all this. Tim says, what is wrong with Ash? It's not love. It's looking at the man's experience and who he's worked with. And I don't know, man, it's just, I've seen it all over the board, for the guy, against the guy, all this kind of stuff. All right, I need a break. 10 seconds. Sinuses are killing me, you guys. Minus 20 degrees one day, 42 and rainy the next. Killing me. Son of a double box. Double box. Oh, man. I got to tell you, Tim Hyde's sarcastic text messages have been one of the highlights of the year, among other things. 949, what's going on? Welcome to the program. Good morning.
Thank you, and good morning to you. Don't have much to add. Primarily, I was just calling because you've got such a great diversity of callers. I love listening to everybody's opinions. And, of course, Hayden the man, I had to hear what he had to say.
Hey, you know what? I give that guy a lot of credit because, I mean, he comes in here and he donates money and he's still around. So good for him, man. I give him credit. And he did say he was in a car accident. I hope he's okay. I genuinely mean that.
Yeah, same here. I might have a solution for you on which game to pick. Why not just wait till Peacock declares their game? Because you know it's going to be a snoozer. And that way you don't have to bend the knee to the Peacock.
Yeah, that's a good point. We've done that a couple times, tried to do it. Purdue's the perfect one, but I kind of want Pat there. We're going to have to really figure this out now.
Yeah, I get it. With that, that's all I have to offer at this moment, unless you have any questions on my way out.
Do you have an Ash opinion, an early one? Where do you fall on the debate? I would like to know that.
Well, my earliest was it's got to be Mickens before Ash was ever a factor. Now that it is, it comes back to, yeah, I trust Marcus. But one thing I hadn't thought of, and it just dawned on me as I was listening, is Marcus had to have a conversation with Mickens before that ever happened. So obviously everybody's on board that this was the right way to go. And by God, I hope it is the absolute most brilliant way to go. And we're all pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I think for me, keeping Mickens around is a safety blanket, safety valve thing that makes me feel a lot open to this. I think it would just be a bigger risk exposure without that part of it. So Mickens being a part of this, sticking around, really does give me a little comfort.
Well, for me, coming in, as soon as the announcement was made that Al was on to his golden years, is that Mickens is the only answer. But now with everything that's transpired, it's got to come down to Mickens and Marcus went into the lab, put on their lab coats, and created a crazy concoction.
Yeah, it's this is going to be really interesting. And there's just change is the only constant. And there's going to be a lot of change around the program. The quarterback discussion is going to dominate spring ball. And there's just change is the only thing you could count on in life and in football too. And so you're trying to thread the needle, my friend, between maintaining the vibe and the energy that worked for so much of this year, while also finding some changes to be able to improve. And it's not an easy calculation to kind of thread that needle. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll be here to cover it.
Yep, that's it.
Hey, man.
Thank you again. And God bless everybody. God bless you, and go Irish.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks very much. You guys, that's the caller that went to the bowl game the playoff game in Miami, met with my brother for the tailgate, and brought my 4-year-old daughter like green pom-poms from the actual game. It's the most that is so thoughtful that he specifically sought out my brother after the game to give her 2 of those from the game so she could have them. That is top-notch, really, really generous, nice stuff. 501, let's have a little fun. What's going on?
What's up, man? This is Trinity.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, man, I was just wanting to call in. I hadn't spoke to you since after the game, man. I was just wanting to kind of vent a little bit and talk about Ash or whatever.
Sure, man. Whatever's on your mind, let it fly.
Man, really, I mean, like I said, I haven't talked to you since the game, man. That was my first time calling in. And I knew our defensive line. That's what I said to you before the game. That was the only thing that worried me, man. And I don't want to harp on the game. I want to get on with it, man. But, bro, the worst thing in the world is to get to the national championship and, just not have our team, the defensive line. We couldn't get any pressure on Ohio State's quarterback. And, I mean, the whole game I'm just sitting there watching. Your secondary can only hold up so long. And it was just man, to get to the spot where we're dreaming to get to and then just have not enough manpower. For me, the offseason and as far as the portal and transfers, man, the defensive line is got to be the number one concern, bro. I mean, we got to get more bigger defensive linemen. We're playing too small on the line, I feel.
Yeah. Do you
I mean, especially,
is it a good and a bad thing in a way? I totally feel the frustration of reaching the championship game and then not having enough in the tank talent-wise or whatever to pull it out. But do you also look at it and say, let's flip this? Do you also flip it and say, maybe that's not a good thing because you lost a championship, but any thought of this wasn't even a top-notch Notre Dame team, totally beat up, and even if they had position groups that were not up to snuff, and you still were able to make it to the final 2. Do you see what I mean? That there's you're not ending that game saying you're not saying this was our best chance to win the championship. We had really good health luck and we feel like this is the best team we're going to have top to bottom. This is our chance to go win it now. And you didn't get it done. I don't feel like that. I feel like the team was really banged up, position groups that weren't good enough, even if they weren't banged up, and you still made it to the final 2. That to me shows that there's some plus side here that we haven't explored yet. This wasn't like Michigan last year where they had a full team of health and upperclassmen and they felt great about it and you were going to win it. There is upward mobility within this program, but you got to do the right things, hire the right people, get the right people in here, players and coaches.
Oh, definitely, man. I totally agree with you on that for sure, man. I'm with you all the way, man. This team did, I mean, I didn't mean it in a way of negative. I meant it we just forward defensive linemen were out at the end of the. It's man, I would just have killed the scene. I know we would have won with our defensive linemen, at least even with Riley Mills, man. I'm just I know we would have won, and I'm in the same boat with you as far as the bowls, man. I looked at that as the same way. I was bro, no way did we just do this with, so many injuries and just the second man standing up. And, that's what gives me hope for the future, man. But I mean, to me right now, it's I'm just watching for defensive linemen. I'm bro, can we just get more defensive linemen that are at least 300 pounds, man,
Yeah.
Because I mean, our secondary this year would have killed every team we played with at least a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. I mean, I've watched every game, man, and my favorite, position basically is offense or defensive line. And the whole year, man, I love our guys, but we just weren't getting there. And it was just bro, it's so hard to sit back and watch these quarterbacks have so much time, even with the elite, secondary, which, is the first time we've had one in so long. So it's like when we have one, we don't have the other. But, you can't have everything. But at the same time, where I'm watching this from right now, man, I'm just looking for defensive line transfers and wide receivers or recruits, man. Like, if we can get the wide receivers and defensive linemen, a few more in like Tuitt and, that year, Aaron Lynch, get a few of these guys, bro. And I guarantee you it'll be a totally different story.
Yeah, it's going to be, you're right. And I do, there's upward mobility still. This is nowhere near a top end Marcus Freeman roster, in my opinion, what we just played with. And so I don't know, man, we'll see. And this GM thing's going to have a lot to do with how this infrastructure is built out for player acquisition, portal stuff, NIL stuff. This is a big time modern hire Notre Dame's got to get right. And if it's Blanchard, I feel like that's as close to a sure thing as you could be. I've never read or seen or heard a bad thing about the guy from anyone who covers this sport and this modern aspect of the sport. I haven't heard a bad thing about the guy.
And that's where the positive is on that. We can kind of go and feel like we're getting a home run hire there if we do land him. But, like, I'm in the same boat as a lot of people with Ash, bro. It's like I was looking for, like, a nose hire or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I was talking to my girlfriend after the game, and I'm like, how crazy is it that Oklahoma State beat us in the Fiesta Bowl with Knowles, and then Knowles is at OSU again? And it's like, bro, what the hell? Like, again, you know what I'm saying? And it was just the weirdest thing. And then that's why I was wanting to win this championship so bad. I want to win every year so bad. But, I mean, just to get it under the belt, man, because I knew – like how off seasons go for Notre Dame, man. We do really well, and then it's like we lose almost half of.
See, that's the thing, man. You're right. That's the thing. You're like, the big letdown of making it to the final two and losing is there's just no guarantee that you're going to be back there. You want to think we'll bring the band back for next year, and if we did it this year, there's no guarantees of that carryover of momentum. And that's why it's like, if you made this run, could you steal one more and almost steal this one and get away with it? And you didn't. And now the big battle is getting back, because now you move the bar. The bar of expectations has risen for this program. And that's something Freeman's going to have hanging over him now, is the success of this has set a different bar. Ain't nobody here for regression. I can tell you that.
This is one thing that I feel like helps us, though. Is Freeman, I think Freeman would have killed recruiting if we wouldn't have went to the NIL. It's like, as soon as we got Freeman and we get this great recruiter, they go to NIL, and it takes away every possibility for him to, you know, like kind of win on that front.
Yep.
But now it's like, now he can show these quarterbacks and these wide receivers, like, bro, we got to the national championship. We can do it. And, with 3 stars or whatever, I love everybody we get, man, because they're Notre Dame, man. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the star, bro. But at the same time, when you look at, who wins these championships, Georgia had 25 stars. Michigan had 3. They got demolished. Then you look at Ohio State, 12-1. It's just like, it's not mathematics, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like watching an 8th grade team play against a 9th grade team. Sometimes you just need better players, and that helps a whole lot.
Yeah. And listen, there's no one that could tell me the 14 5 stars for Ohio State and the 1 for Notre Dame did not have an impact on the title game. I love what Notre Dame does, identifying underrated prospects and developing them to be key contributors early in their careers. I'm all for that. But I do think you need more of a percentage of each recruiting class to be can't miss, like gonna play early, big time guys at prime positions, D-line, wide receiver, whatever. You need a little more of that. And that's a big part of the next GM's role. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for touching base. I hope you feel better getting some of this out.
Oh man, dude, I don't really have too many friends around to, conversate with this. I drive my girl crazy, you know what I'm saying? It's off season now and she's still looking at me like, are we still talking about this?
Yeah.
But it feels great, man. I just want to, man, I do feel great about the season. It's one of the best seasons we've ever had, man. Those 2 bowl victories, bro, it was unreal. I was so happy, man. So we came short. Oh, well, we made it to the game. This team was amazing, man. The year was so fun. I got to be at the, a game this year. But the last thing I'll leave you with, bro, with the recruiting is while I'm watching the game, like you said, a Carnell Tate wide receiver that we could have used You know what I'm saying? We lose to the NIL, and I know he wanted to go to Notre Dame, and it was NIL that in the Ohio State's always to have five-star wide receivers. But they also stole one of our 5-star defensive linemen. And, like, during the game, I'm just sitting there going, bro, like, just 2 players would have changed, and Notre Dame would be in a national championship. You know what I'm saying? For sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, take care, bro. I'll listen to the rest of the show. And, like I said, man, hopefully next year we'll get back. I thought like that in 2012 with Everett Golson, and then Everett gets kicked out. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like that's the thing you were talking about earlier. You know what I'm saying? Just trying to get back that next year. We did it this year. Let's get back to back and let's win it. Bro.
There we go, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for the call. A couple more chats, and we got a couple more callers. We're going to try and breeze through here. Dave, $10 hour. Thank you very much. Do you think it's time to renegotiate with the ACC on scheduling? Contracts up in 25. I'd like to play less games against that conference so we could get more games against Big Ten and SEC. I don't think that's going to happen. This renegotiation appears to me to already have happened, Dave. And the agreement is Notre Dame's going to play 2 of the top 3 brands in that conference every year on a rotation between Florida State, Miami, and Clemson. So they are kind of restructuring it so that Notre Dame's going to play more of the top brands in that conference and not all these lower ones. Now, is that finalized? That's a question I have. I'm not sure if that is totally finalized or not. Dave, again, $5 hour. If it doesn't work out with the ACC, we could leave, join the Big East again, or in our other sports, better basketball rivalries in the Big East. I just think, I don't know, Notre Dame seems to be fairly committed to this ACC thing now. And then all the Notre Dame fans I've seen are open to the rotation, the 2 of the 3, Miami, Florida State, Clemson every year, those brand name guys. Will J. John, they want the 5-star guys. If they say no, do you want them to kidnap them? No, you're just probably not going to win the championship. Like, you can't kidnap them, and I don't want anybody here that doesn't want to be here, but you're probably just not going to win the championship. I don't know. I mean, you got to find a way to overcome those objections. A part of it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, why don't you land 5-star wide receivers at Notre Dame? I don't know. None of your wide receivers lately are that good and are going to the NFL. It's not the most appealing position for wide receivers to come in here. So I don't know. It's kind of like you got to break that cycle. Notre Dame's secondary has been able to break the cycle. For 30 years, it was one of the weakest parts of the program. Now it's one of the strengths, and then that lends itself to healthier, easier recruiting back there because there's a proof of concept of success on the field and then putting people in the league. And so you don't have that at wide receiver for a while. It's hard to break through that. My main man, Martinez. What's going on, baby?
Hey, Johnny, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm starting to get my energy back, man. It took me a while after the game, but I'm starting to get some mental strength back. Whatever of that I have left.
Yeah, man. Soon after the title game, you look like we all were. It was emotional, man. It was draining. That playoff season was draining.
Yeah, it was tough, man. But I'm starting to get my energy back, and when we get into spring ball, it'll be fun.
Right on. Yeah, Johnny, I got to go back to throwing block, man, on Monday. So thank you for getting me in. I guess management season's over, bro, and I got to go back to throwing block. So, but I'll listen to all the shows when I get home and get on the Saturday Night Lives, man. So thank you for getting me in today.
Oh, no problem, man. And just for an update, I need a little break. And then when we get into spring ball or closer to spring ball, we'll bring back all the Saturday night shows regularly. So that'll be a good chance for you to jump in. I'm going to take a couple weeks off, do some stuff with the family on the weekends. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, that'd be awesome. But to touch on, I don't know about Ash. I kind of got mixed feelings. You know what I mean? You see, because I was looking at his record at Rutgers, right? And I'm like, well, the dude before him had winning records. I mean, not Fiesta Bowl or National Title records, but at least bowl eligible records. And I'm thinking, so what happened with him? But then, then I seen then I remember, coaching as well, like coaching in different programs. And it's like, damn, man, in one program, I remember the parents were so involved that it's like, I gotta go. I can't leave, man. Like, unless, this ain't childcare. This is little league football, or this is high school football. So I had to leave. So I'm pretty sure he's ran into certain circumstances as a coach, like all coaches do on all levels, where your hands are tied in some situations and your hands are tied and you're free for all on others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also, like I said, he coached with Urban. So, I'm optimistic. I'm skeptical. I'm going to give him a chance, but you know what I mean? And I'm glad Mickens can stay. And my boy Al Washington, man, you know what I mean? That's my boy, man. I'd be rooting for that dude. So
yeah,
I hope everything stays intact. And I think we're still on the up and up, man. I don't think this is like, this is the only year we could have won it, and now because of this. I think as long as we have the head of the snake with Freeman, we're going to be just fine, man.
Yeah, you got to this is what happens, man. Like, you're never going to bring back the exact unit you just played with. Things are going to change, and you got to find a way to thread the needle of maintaining, the good vibes you had and the energy that made you have a pretty successful year, while trying to find areas to get better. And I'm hoping the GM could be a part of that. Mickens staying around could be a part of that. And it's just every year has a little different feel. You're going to have a little different blend of personalities and players and coaches.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as the GM goes, Mark with last made a good point, and you guys made a great point. I remember when the first program I coached at, where the parents were so involved, and then I ended up going to another program with my old high school coach. This dude was 6'4", man, 320, had a voice like that would make James Earl Jones sound like Pee Wee Herman, but like he was big. And then our linebackers defense coordinator was built like a Spartan, and then our running back coach was built like Mike Tyson, and our D-line coach had these huge 20-inch arms. So the reason I say that was because my friend goes, hey, look at the difference what you get from Murray and look at the difference you get from Conwood. We come up here to Conwood and look at their leader. Cecil has this big commanding voice. And, look at Joe's built like a Spartan. Look at who he's built like Mike Tyson. He's like, and look at Chris. And these kids are attracted to that. And he goes like, rather than a little pipsqueak sounding dude like Aragon, come on, guys, come on, But the reason for that is like, this GM dude that walks around jacked with sleeveless,
Yeah,
kids are gonna be attracted. Like, oh man, that's the dude that's recruiting us. That's the dude that
Yeah, I do like
that's hitting us up. So go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
I said, yeah, I do like that. I noticed right away, like, what a difference in the vibe. He ain't gonna be prancing around in a leprechaun outfit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think those days are over if you get that guy.
No, yeah, exactly. Like you get a dad, maybe a dad that grew up hard like me, or like Josh, or like even Tom Frawley. I mean, Tom seems like an amazing dude, man. But like, here's this little clown in his leprechaun outfit, which I get it. You got the spirit of Notre Dame, maybe, and then you get this big jack dude, like, hey, how you doing, Mr. Martinez? How you doing, Mr. Finn? How you doing, Mr. Frawley? With the big old masculine handshake. You know what I mean? And you got these guns just popping out, and the kid's like, "Oh, Dad, you see that, Coach?"
Yeah, I like it. I do. I like it, man. Hey,
I like that too.
I want thanks for being here, man. As much as you're here, whatever, and thanks for letting me know the work situations change for you a little bit. But I'll do the Saturday night shows, and I want you to jump in there whenever you can. Anything before you go?
Brother, love you, man. Love you guys during live. Like I said, Monday my situation changes, but we'll be there live. We'll be there listening to after broadcast. Onward, Notre Dame, baby. I
appreciate it, man. Hey, be safe out there, and good luck. And we'll do the Saturday shows. 2 more calls. We got 559 up on the line. 914 is going to be the last caller. Let's see what we get. 559. What's up?
What's up, John? Let me tell you guys something real quick. I'm at work too. All right. And I'm sorry about the other day, John. I had to run.
Oh, that's okay, man. Hey, I understand that.
Yeah,
I don't hold.
No joke,
I don't hold that against anybody that tries to call during work. I understand sometimes that works and sometimes you can't. I get it.
Yeah, and then another thing is too. So my question to y'all right now, because y'all really pissing me the hell off right now. Who the hell do you think you are to question Marcus Freeman? First, you didn't believe in the guy that couldn't take it there. Now that he took it there, you want to question every goddamn thing he does? No, do you believe him or you don't? And if you don't, get the hell out. I don't need this BS. All right? Marcus Freeman's going to hire for what's best for Notre Dame. Not for you, not for me, for Notre Dame. And if you love Notre Dame, rock with it. If not, bounce, homie. That's simple as that. All right? We are Notre Dame. We believe in our coach, and we stand with our coach in his decisions, good or bad, all right? He's going to learn, he's going to fail, and he's going to make some home runs. Until then, I'll shove with all this, man. We need to worry about getting our team better. And then you know what? ACC, if you're going to make Notre Dame play these dumb ass schedules and all of a sudden make it better for it to help the SEC because they're knocking each other off, then you better open up your paycheck, and Notre Dame, you better open up your wallet and give Marcus Freeman every single thing he needs. He needs more staff, he needs more recruiters, he needs more people on the payroll, and we need NIL money way more than what we have, and let's start getting these defensive tackles, all right? And start showing what Notre Dame piggy bank can look like.
I do. First off, I love the energy as always. But I do think that it is fair to say, how much credibility and trust has Marcus Freeman gained from this year 3 success and the playoff run and 13 wins in a row and all that? How much credibility has he collected to where you feel like it's fair to go, we need to default to trusting his judgment and what he thinks this program needs? I think that's a very fair question to debate.
No, I think it's fair, but you know what? It's like, well, you scrutinize the guy so much. Like, okay, well, like he acts like he's done so many bad decisions. He took a team to the first playoff, an extended playoff, not a one playoff game, a 4-game playoff. We made it to the final. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. Obviously, he had to sit down with Mickens and had a one-on-one talk, and I hope he did. Because if he didn't, then yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be a fool. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm gonna be a fool. Because why? Because I'm going to ride with my coach because I love this university and I love this coach because I believe in him and I know that he knows what's best for the university and for his football team. He's not going to set us up for fail. Look, I get it. We all want the splash home run, but sometimes your ideas ain't always the best ideas. It's always good when you have a different variety of people. And someone said it earlier. Lou Holtz used to call Bally Body. He's the one that helped. He's the one that helped Randy Moss coach to Florida State. Don't forget that. A good coach what makes a good coach is really good is knowing that he's not the smartest guy. So he's going to ask for ideas and ask opinions. And if he's doing that, so let it be it. It's going to come to a point where he's confident enough in himself that he's not going to be using all these resources that he has on him right now. He's doing the best he can for the University of Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, man. I get it. I get it. I totally get it. Having Mickens around still is I'm going to keep saying it. That's a safety blanket to me. And then we're going to see how it goes, man. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I don't think it's a slam dunk home run, but I'm not like saying it's going to go terribly. And we're just going to have to see how it goes. And I'm excited for spring ball, man.
And so am I, man, John. I'm so excited. I've been excited. Like I said, man, I'm here. I rock and I will ride or die with my Notre Dame all day, every day. Any place, anytime, anywhere. We want to talk about football, we talk about Notre Dame, my boy.
I love it, man. Hey, have a good weekend. I'm getting ready to wrap up here. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Have fun, man. Okay?
You too, John, and thank you for clearing up on the Saturday calls. I was waiting for you this Saturday.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, we're gonna do a couple of these Saturdays. I got family stuff going on. And then when we get into spring ball, we'll bring back the night Saturday shows and then get into the regular off season. WPP. Freeman makes $9 million a year. Fans could and should question every decision he makes. I mean, I guess that's fair. $20 hour. Tom, Chris, good to see you guys. How goes it, John? Been a while since I caught a live show. You tailgating for the spring game? Absolutely 100%. We're going to be there, rain or shine or cold or whatever else. We're going to be there. Also, I know it's early, but are you planning to tailgate during the season? We are, and earlier in the show, we were debating which week it needs to be, who's available for what. So, yeah, we're definitely going to do a tailgate in the year, but we need to figure out which game it's going to be. We don't know that yet. As soon as I know it, I'll make an announcement. Final caller of the day, 914. What's going on?
Hey, John, it's my first time calling since the big game
I need your popularity to die down so I can get through. So
That's a good way to put it. Thanks for joining us, my friend. And yeah, Tim, you do need to come. You'll have a place to tailgate. Goolsby will be there. I fly the flag, drink some Miller Lights for breakfast with us, Tim. Make the trip. Although the weather, I can't guarantee the weather, man. It could be rough. Anyways, thanks for joining, my friend. What's on your mind?
Yeah, just wanted to talk overall about the game after watching film, Goolsby's film review, and thinking about it, and would love to hear your thoughts. Yes, obviously the defense didn't have a turnover. I didn't have any amazing turnovers or plays or big impact plays to swing the game. But I really think after that long drive where we got the touchdown, the 2 penalties for 20 yards that backed us up deep, and then the 3rd and 5, I don't know if you noticed or rewatched it, but the play clock was at 1 or 0 when the center snapped it. So he had to snap it at that time, even though the wide receiver hit the wide receiver. It was either going to be a 5-yard penalty or he did what he did. That takes away it takes away a field goal, or let's say we have a 5-6 minute drive and we go for it on 4th, which we like to do, and don't get anything. Yes, defense wins championships, but the best defense is a good offense. So I say all that to say this. Let's say we get the 7 and a 3. Maybe Ohio State doesn't have the time to score 21 and only has the time to score 14.
Yeah.
Or let's say we have 2 drives of 3 to 4 minutes, 2 drives, don't get any points. Maybe it's 14-7. And then our comeback ties it up. We play a little bit different. I just think that, number one, this season brought back Notre Dame. Everyone saw their spirit and soul and just the will to win, because Notre Dame's specialty is not having the talent on paper as far as the matchup and still winning. And we did that twice deep into the playoffs. So we are back. With a great season. I consider them champions. If you asked me, it told me Notre Dame was going to win 15 games in a season, in my heart, they're champions. But that game, I just felt like it was too much to overcome one good possession in the first half.
Yeah,
even though they played a hell of a second half.
You ended up with that period of time, through largely the second quarter and then the beginning of the third, giving up that huge run. It was just the worst combination you could think of, where you can't get a defensive stop and your offense goes backwards. And when you combine the two, you're in against a team with that much talent, you're in big, big trouble. And they almost came back, but it was just too much. Notre Dame could have won that game, but they would have almost had to follow a very specific narrow path, and almost nothing could go wrong. And you would need a little help from Ohio State. Like, there was a path there. But Notre Dame you lost those middle 8 everybody's talking about. And I don't know. So it's really frustrating. And I don't know, what can you learn from it to be in a better position next time?
And it was funny at the halftime when the interviewer was talking to Marcus Freeman, he kind of, I don't know if he wanted to say this out loud or if it was his internal monologue, but he said, this moment isn't too big for us, or it shouldn't be too big for us. And I think he was looking back to the penalties and the botched snap in the first half and saying, we don't play like this. What's going on?
Yeah.
So his words were indicative of what was on the field. And Notre Dame, this season, it woke up the echoes, in my opinion. But we just need a little bit more to get over the hump, and we'll have to see how the chips fall. It's way too early to question moves or see how things play out. We just have to wait.
Yeah, listen, the bar was raised, and you made that deep playoff run. You were able to check some boxes in the year 3 and the progress of the Freeman era, and get over the big postseason game losing streak and all that. You beat the SEC champion. You broke through a lot of this, and now it's a matter of, you absolutely cannot regress. This needs to be like you're planting the flag, and you're going to be there and regularly be involved in deep playoff runs. And it's just this needs to be the start of something, not the top of the hill.
And last question I'll have, so you can get on with your day. But I do think, this is my opinion now that it's out, I do think this upcoming schedule is slightly harder than last year's schedule. Boise State's in there, Texas A&M, Miami, USC still in there. I hate playing Boston College at Boston College.
The interesting part of it is how all of the needle moving games are well before like even late October. Miami, A&M at Arkansas, hosting Boise, and USC are all on the front half of your schedule. That is the most intriguing part to me. There ain't one game that moves the needle on the back part of that schedule. Some people are trying to sell me Syracuse is going to be good. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. All of your needle moving games are in the beginning part of the schedule, and you have no games to waste, and you got to figure out a way to be ready early.
And Arkansas has SEC talent. I know they haven't been in the playoffs or they haven't been top 10 or what have you, but they're still recruiting top level. And Boise, Arkansas, Texas A&M, Miami, all right there in the beginning of the schedule. It's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'll put it that way. It's a medium to hard schedule.
Yeah, it's the timing of it is it isn't just the teams, but it's like when you play them and how it all shapes up. The first 2 games of the year are at Miami and hosting A&M. I mean, that alone is going to dictate the playoff trajectory of the rest of the year. So 2-0 and you're cruising. 1-1, you're in the same spot you were last year. You feel like you can't lose again. 0-2, and I don't even want to think about the call-in lines.
Huh. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that it's building. So we had a great year this year. We should get better recruits. The sophomores are better. They have more experience. Marcus Freeman is better. Also with the I know this isn't a corporate job being a football coach, but with the defensive coordinator leaving, don't we have his thoughts and his notes and his game plans? I mean, they don't take it's still saved. We still have his knowledge. So it's not a total loss. I mean, if I was to work at a company and leave, they still have all my files on their computer. You know what I mean? I know it's not the same dynamic, but
yeah, it's really interesting to me how the whole thing's shaping out and where Mickens fits in all this. It's really interesting. And so I don't know, man. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure, but I'm open to it. But I acknowledge I acknowledge the concerns people have, and we're just going to have to wait and see how it goes. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for touching base.
No, just want to say we're back. Enjoy the spring, and let's gear up for Miami.
There we go, man. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to drop in here from New York, and thanks, everybody. This ended up being a really fun show. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the chats. I'm going to record a couple things for Patreon here for the weekend. Get that going for you guys. And we'll see how the weekend goes. See if there's any news. People are putting that it looks like Blanchard's may stay at Texas. I don't like it. Because I wanted that guy after the research. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, you guys. Have a good one.